The top stories tonight in Y News. Some senators reject the idea of postponing the 2022 elections. Meanwhile, Malacanang says that the COVID-19 pandemic should not be used as a ground to cancel or reschedule the 2022 national elections in the country.
Asymptomatic and mild COVID-19 cases are now required by the IATF to undergo facility-based isolation.
Most Metro Manila mayors recommend to extend the National Capital Region's general community quarantine status after September 30. A child protection advocate group warns and calls on parents and guardians to be cautious when it comes to posting images and videos of their children online.
Australia records a budget deficit of $85.3 billion amid its battle against the impacts of COVID-19. Meanwhile, Australia's Therapeutic Goods Administration okays the rollout of 4 rapid antigen COVID-19 tests.
And Brads to hold digital concert for their 8th anniversary via communication app Connect. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, September 25, 2020. I am Jorlene Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am Mariela Toza.
First in the news, the issue of postponing the 2022 elections has drawn different views as well as criticisms. But a law expert says that holding elections beyond elected officials' terms needs constitutional amendments. One of our senior correspondents, Ray Pelayo, tells us why.
During the budget briefing of the Commission on Elections yesterday with the House Committee on Appropriations, Pampanga Representative Mikey Arroyo asked the poll body if they also consider postponing the 2022 elections due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
No matter how prepared we are, it will cause a serious dent on our health situation. Would you consider, was the thought that you will propose to postpone elections, has that ever triggered in your minds?
I think wala sa call namin sa COMELEC yan. It's the call of both the Chamber of the House and the President.
One of the personalities who have commented on the matter is DFA Secretary Teddy Locsin, who said that it is treason to cancel the election. While former COMELEC Commissioner Gregorio Larazabal Sr. said there is no reason to postpone the elections because other countries have been able to conduct their elections despite the challenges in middle of the pandemic. According to election law expert attorney George Erwin Garcia, the elections can be done before or after the second week of May based on the Constitution as long as there is a law passed by Congress.
Yung nasa isip ng tao, pag talagang sinabi ng saligang batas na second Monday at all costs, hindi po. Pwede yang ilipat sa ibang araw man lang o ibang linggo, second Monday. Pwede yang ibang buwan, ilipat yan. Bakit? Kasi nakalagay as may be provided for by law.
But it needs constitutional amendments if the election will be done beyond the elected official's term.
So by conducting an election outside or beyond the deadline or the term of office is therefore extending the term of office of the incumbent, which is actually prohibited because wala tayong tinatawag dito na holdover capacity. Kasi na-fix na ng saligang batas ang termino ng mga opisyal.
Attorney Garcia adds that COMELEC even has the power to postpone the elections or declare failure based on the Omnibus Election Code. That is, in case of violence, terrorism, loss or destruction of election paraphernalia or records, force majeure, and other analogous. But a pandemic is not written.
Ibig mo sabihin, itutuloy pa rin ng COMELEC ang election kahit na may mga teroristang grupo doon sa lugar na yon? No, the COMELEC can always postpone because there is terrorism. Hindi ba? The COMELEC can always postpone the election until na mahupa na yung kalagayan sa lugar na yon.
For the election law expert, the most important now is for COMELEC to prepare for the elections, including the voters' registration. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Some senators have rejected the idea of postponing the 2022 elections. According to Senator Panfilo Lacson, postponing the elections to pave the way for the extension of the terms of the President, the Vice President, the members of the Congress, and other elected officials is a clear violation of the Constitution. Lacson says any discussion of the issue is pointless, if not a waste of time and energy. Meanwhile, Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon strongly opposes the idea, noting that the proposal could be a prelude to the main objective of extending the terms of members of the Congress and elected officials. Drilon is also confident that his colleagues in the Senate will not agree with the proposal. For Senate President Vicente Soto III, the idea presents a number of controversial and unconstitutional issues, adding that the tenure of elected government officials are fixed. For his part, Senator Kiko Pangilinan also believes that the move is unconstitutional. According to Pangilinan, the COVID-19 pandemic should not be used as a reason to cancel the elections. The lawmaker says there are interventions that can be done, such as conducting a two-day election to reduce the volume of voters in the polling precincts and voting centers. The voting can also be conducted in bigger venues, including basketball courts, gymnasiums, or convention centers to fully observe social distancing. Senator Amy Marcos, who also sits as the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, maintains that the 2022 elections must continue, noting that other countries have already conducted their own elections even at the height of the pandemic. And Senator Christopher Bongo says the government should come up with alternatives to push through with the elections through a clean, credible, and lawful means. He adds the postponement of the elections should be a last resort and that the government must ensure continuity of delivery of public services, including protecting Filipinos' right to vote even in times of crisis.
Meanwhile, Malacanang says that the COVID-19 pandemic should not be used as a ground to cancel or reschedule the 2022 national election. This statement was made after a proposal in the lower house of Congress to defer the elections over pandemic fears. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, the national election is 2 years away and the government has sufficient time to prepare. The palace official adds the idea to postpone the 2022 election presents constitutional challenges.
Asymptomatic and mild COVID-19 cases are now required to undergo facility-based isolation. This new measure is now implemented through Resolution Number 74 of the Interagency Task Force Against COVID-19. However, if patients, as confirmed by local health officers, are considered vulnerable with comorbidities and their home meets the conditions specified by the Department of Health and the Department of the Interior and local government, they are exempted from this restriction. Another exception is when the COVID-19 centers within the region are fully occupied and the local government unit does not have sufficient isolation facilities.
The Philippine government has ongoing negotiations with different manufacturers of COVID-19 vaccines. but the health department admits the slow development of negotiations. Our health correspondent Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Philippine Food and Drug Administration says the best-case scenario of the approval of COVID-19 vaccine in the country may come April next year. This is the estimate of experts, which could happen after the World Health Organization's Vaccine Solidarity Trial is completed. The Solidarity Trial is expected to begin next month.
If clinical trials are completed by December or January, and a company would file with the FDA an application, then it's possible that by April 2021 that we will have an approved vaccine. Talagang best case scenario yon, meaning yung 3 to 6 months, magiging 3 months, and assuming that they will complete all of their analysis and submit immediately to the FDA.
The country's Department of Science and Technology believes that the earliest forecast of COVID-19 vaccine availability in the market is second quarter of 2021. DOST Secretary Fortunato de la Peña explains that if there is an available selection of potential COVID-19 vaccines by October, the Solidarity Trial may begin.
When they say 3 to 6 months, we prepare to use the longer forecast, okay, in our estimate. So that would indicate that in that period, they will have finished the clinical trials and probably already submitted to FDA the results their application and the results of their trials. It may be availability already, or it may be the time that they can submit all the results of their trials to FDA.
Also, according to Secretary de la Peña, the Philippine government is negotiating with 17 vaccine developers in different countries. 6 of those have already signed confidentiality disclosure agreements, or CDA, with the Philippine government, which allows the clinical sharing of their trial results. Sputnik of the Gamaleya Research Institute in Russia and Sinovac in China are 2 of those developers with CDA. The DOST also clarifies that potential vaccines, which will be included in the WHO Solidarity Trial, will no longer be allowed to conduct independent clinical trials. Meanwhile, the Department of Health admits a slow development of the country's negotiations on COVID-19 vaccine, but this is to ensure the safety of people.
Bakit ba ang tagal? Matagal po kasi gusto nating siguraduhin na wala pong mangyayaring hindi maganda sa ating mga kababayan kapag binigay na ho natin sa kanila itong mga gamot o di kaya ay bakuna na ito.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the country's Department of Health says that 2,630 new COVID-19 cases were reported today, raising the total confirmed cases of coronavirus infection in the Philippines to more than 299,000. That is 0.28% of the total Philippine population. Of the new cases, more than 1,000 were reported in the National Capital Region, the highest among provinces with newly announced cases. The total active cases rose to almost 62,000. Of those, 87.0% are in mild condition, while 9.0% are asymptomatic. We have lost 69 more patients. But through our fervent prayers, medical interventions, and sacrifices of our medical frontliners, close to 500 more people have won their battle against the invisible enemy. That brings the total recoveries nationwide to more than 232,000. That is 77.6% of the total confirmed cases. Thanks be to God.
Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has now reached a total of more than 32 million confirmed cases in 188 countries, regions, and sovereignty. That is after more than 298,000 new patients were recorded across different countries. The fast-spreading disease has claimed more than 983,000 lives, with almost 6,000 deaths since yesterday. While a total of over 22.2 million patients across the globe have recovered from the new coronavirus infection. Thanks be to God.
More than 20,000 barangays in the country are now considered drug-free by authorities, although some barangays in Luzon and Visayas are not part of the list. Meanwhile, PIDEA and the PNP won't be hindered by the pandemic from their war on drugs. Our police correspondent Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency and the Philippine National Police confirm that the COVID-19 pandemic will not hinder the government's campaign against illegal drugs. This as they continue their anti-drug operations nationwide, while also taking the necessary precautionary measures to avoid getting infected with the COVID-19 virus. PNP Chief Police General Camilo Cascolan says they have a program wherein barangay enforcement teams and the PNP Red Team monitor the barangay for any illegal drugs activities while observing the minimum health protocols set by the health department.
We have actually come up with barangay enforcement teams, which we now join together with the marshals. The marshals who will be looking at all the business establishments and at the same time the transport system. We of course also have what you call the red team. This consists of the BACOD. This BACOD is the Barangay COVID Defense. We will be following all the protocols against COVID-19 and we will go down. This will not hamper, of course, or deter us from cooperating and coordinating with the barangays.
For its part, PIDEA says that local governments are encountering some challenges in monitoring illegal drugs activities due to threats of COVID-19, but this will not hinder them from conducting anti-illegal drugs operations.
Karamihan pa rin na mga affected barangays ay andito sa malalaking lungsod, particularly itong mga metropolis, na andito pa rin yung mga naiiwang affected barangays ng ating bansa. Kung nasaan ang pera, naandyan ang droga. So, Luzon-based pa rin ang marami.
The real numbers press conference of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency showed that more than 20,000 barangays out of the 42,045 barangay nationwide are now drug-free. They also recorded 5,856 deaths and more than 256,000 arrested among drug personalities. 10,308 of that number are high-value targets in the more than 176,000 operations.
May intervention para sa'yo. Well, kung hindi ka mag-surrender, walang problema. Kakandakan ka namin ng anti-drug operation.
620 drug dens and laboratories have been dismantled. 53.56 billion pesos worth of illegal drugs such as shabu, cocaine, ecstasy, and marijuana have been confiscated. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Malacanang assures there will be no let-up against erring officials of the Philippine Health Insurance. Our palace correspondent Rosalie Cos tells us why.
Facebook challenges have become a trend nowadays in which netizens share their photos and statements on various issues or topics. Last night, some netizens used the hashtag "Huwag kalimutan yung binulsang 15 billion sa PhilHealth Challenge," or in English, "Don't forget the 15 billion pesos stolen through PhilHealth fraud schemes." It can be recalled that the state-run agency's resigned anti-fraud legal officer, Thorson Montes Keith, alleged that some PhilHealth officials stole some 15 billion pesos through various fraudulent schemes. According to Malacanang, there will be no let-up in the government's drive to make erring officials of PhilHealth accountable for their alleged misdeeds. In a statement, Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque says the Department of Justice is finalizing the complaints against accused officials and employees of PhilHealth. This as other composite teams continue their investigation on other offices of PhilHealth, including the legal sector. The palace official adds zero tolerance against corruption is not just a catchphrase but a serious matter for the current administration. Task Force PhilHealth has recommended to the President the filing of criminal and administrative charges against high-ranking officials of the state health insurer, including former PhilHealth President and Chief Executive Officer Ricardo Morales. while President Rodrigo Duterte gave until before 2020 ends to new PhilHealth Chief Attorney Dante Gueran to clean up PhilHealth. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
11 Filipino seafarers stranded in China may come home soon. Meanwhile, the Chinese Coast Guard says they have yet to find the Filipino crew members still missing in Japan after their boat capsized. Joan Nano tells us why.
The repatriation process for 11 Filipino seafarers stranded in China is underway, according to the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWA. The seafarers have been marooned on a boat since March 24 this year. They say they don't have food and water, nor does their company pay their salaries. In a statement, the DFA confirms that arrangements are being finalized for the repatriation of the 11 Filipino seafarers stranded in China on board Ocean 86. According to OWA Administrator Hans Leo Kakdak, the seafarers may be expected to fly home to the Philippines in the coming weeks.
Meron na hong napipintong repatriation either this coming week or first week of October ng ating mga mahal na stranded seafarers pa sa China, yung 11. At ang other report po ay mula sa dagat ay nasa daungan na po yung barko. Kaya't we have now been providing assistance to the seafarers.
OWA says that Ocean 86 is presently docked at a Chinese port and the consular office has provided them assistance. Meanwhile, the Chinese Coast Guard has conducted two-day search and rescue operations for the 36 Filipino crewmen from the Panamanian cargo vessel that capsized in Japan last September 2. However, the Chinese Coast Guard has not found any of the missing victims as of today. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Most Metro Manila mayors recommend to extend the National Capital Region's general community quarantine status after September 30. Asher Cadapan Jr. will tell us why live. Yes, Asher.
Secretary for the Interior and Local Government Eduardo Año has yet to confirm if the general community quarantine status will be extended in the National Capital Region after September 30. But he confirmed that majority of mayors in Metro Manila recommend to still implement the GCQ. This is what Secretary Año said.
Maraming mga mayors natin ng NCR ang talagang gusto pa rin ng mag-GCP. Pero yun ay depende pa rin sa usapin sa Sunday.
The DILG Secretary further explained that the mayors are considering to implement stricter restrictions than a more relaxed quarantine level, as they are primarily concerned about the health and welfare of their respective constituents. Nevertheless, the analytics data related to the COVID-19 situation should still be weighed along with the recommendation of the Metro Manila Council.
Dalawa yan eh. May fit na MGCQ o medyo maluwag na GCQ. Pag titingnan mo, mas maganda talaga na naka-GCQ ka kahit magluwag ka ng konti. Pero meron kang talagang mas mataas na panuntunan, no? Kaysa yung nag-MGCQ tapos i-higpitan mo.
The IATF is set to discuss the matter with President Rodrigo Duterte on Sunday night. Arlene?
Asher, you are also monitoring the developments on Edsa, right? Can you also give us an update on the closure of U-turn slots on the Edsa Busway, which will start on Monday?
Well, Harleen, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, anticipates heavier traffic upon closure of the U-turn slots along Edsa Busway. 14 U-turns will be under a phase-by-phase closure starting on Monday, September 28. The closure of the U-turn slots will give way for the exclusive Edsa Busway route between Monumento in Caloocan City and Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, or PITX. The MMDA has provided alternative routes for the U-turns closure, but they anticipate heavier traffic in the affected areas. With this, MMDA advises affected motorists to find alternative routes. Here's what MMDA Edsa Traffic Czar Edison Bong Nebrija got to say about it.
Start looking for your best alternate route and practice it as much as possible para masigurado nyo po na hindi nakasarado yung mga inner roads na yan, balak ng daanan.
The MMDA plans to no longer augment their personnel in the affected areas and explains that the congestion is expected to ease within the next 2 weeks. Harleen?
So Asher, why is MMDA not deploying more traffic law enforcers in the areas that will be affected by the closure of U-turns?
Well, Harleen, Nebrija explains that although they expect congestion, especially in the alternative routes of the U-turn slots that will be closed, the traffic can be managed by the same number of personnel they deploy. What MMDA plans to do on Monday is to just intensify their operation in Quezon Avenue, where the alternative U-turn slot for the U-turn slot in MRT North Avenue is located. This is scheduled to initially close on Monday. Harleen?
Thank you so much, Asher Kadapan Jr. reporting live from Quezon City.
A child protection advocate group warns and calls on parents and guardians to be cautious when it comes to posting images and videos of their children online. Dante Amento tells us why.
A new online challenge called Drop Your Photo Challenge has gone viral on social media and gained hundreds of thousands of response. There are parents who have posted images and even videos of their children using hashtag Drop Your Beautiful Daughter Challenge or Drop Your Handsome Son Challenge. But according to Attorney Alberto Muyot, CEO of Save the Children Philippines, an organization that champions child protection, such photo challenge may pose dangers to children such as falling prey to sexual abuse and exploitation.
Marami po talaga nagsasurf ng internet at naghahanap po ng ganito po mga photo at ginagamit po. Meron nga po mga examples na nagpakita po ng picture ng kanilang anak na bata na nililiguan. And then suddenly, kumalat na po yun doon po sa sites ng mga pedophiles as part ng sex trafficking ng mga bata, okay, child pornography.
Attorney Muyot explains that pictures or videos of children are the target of cyber criminals for their own purposes or to gain by selling the images to pedophile sites.
We're sure na ngayon pong pandemic, nababad na babad po mga bata at mga tao po, mga adults doon po sa internet at tataas pa po yung numbers.
Attorney Muyot adds, the Philippines is currently the global epicenter of online sexual abuse and exploitation. Data received by the Department of Justice Cybercrime Office from US-based National Center for Missing and Exploited Children shows that in 2017, more than 45,000 sexual images of Filipino children proliferated in digital platforms, but the number ballooned to 600,000 last year. Article 15, Section 3 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution says that the state protects the children's right from all forms of neglect, abuse, cruelty, exploitation, and other conditions prejudicial to their development. The public is advised to report any form of cybercrime activities to authorities. This can be through the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group with cell phone number 0998-598-8116. The National Bureau of Investigation Cybercrime Division with telephone number 8523-8231 or the Department of Justice Cybercrime Office through its phone number 8524-8216. Dante Amento, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Jaguan Mariel, and to our kasangbahay, as the country grapples with the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, the UNTV News and Rescue remains true to its commitment of being your public service channel. Since the start of the community quarantine, our very own UNTV radio mobile booth has been on the road, going to various parts of Metro Manila to give you the latest happenings on the ground. But because of the continuing threats of the killer virus, UNTV ensures the safety of its news teams by observing the minimum health standards. Here in our UNTV radio mobile booth, safety protocols are strictly implemented. Every morning before hitting the road, both the exterior and the interior of the mobile booth undergo disinfection. From the furniture up to the electronic equipment, all of the production materials are cleaned thoroughly. And as an extra caution against potential contamination, every news anchor has her own microphone.
After ng news ang ating anchor, tatanggalin natin ang mic, i-sprayhan natin. Tapos tatanggalin natin siya. Babalutin natin siya ng tissue. Yan. Babalot siya. Babalik natin siya dito. Since na si Miss Monica ang sunod, nalagyan ko siya ng color coding. Yan, Miss Monica po siya. Yan. Nalagyan na nga natin dito. And then, spray natin ulit. Isang challenge lang sa radio mobile booth. Hindi mo lahat pwedeng basain. So, kailangan kasi disinfect mo siya. Lagyan mo siya ng sabon, Clorox o chlorine. Para, siyempre, di natin alam yung kalaban, di natin nakikita. Kailangan natin sigurado.
There is also a foot bath outside the mobile booth before boarding. The UNTV crew makes sure that they follow all the minimum health standards wherever they go, including the wearing of face mask and face shield and following the social distancing.
Kaming event o magla-live po kami. Pupunta po kami sa area na kung saan yung safe po yung sasakyan namin na hindi kami makakaabala sa maraming sasakyan. At saka po pagka nakasetup naman po kami, hindi na po ako lumalabas kundi doon lang po ako sa loob para maingatan din po yung sarili namin. Sa pag-iingat po namin, dapat lagi po kaming malayo sa mga matataong lugar.
The UNTV radio mobile booth was also able to extend help to our fellow kababayans in need through our distribution of food packs and relief items. Even in these trying times, UNTV News and Rescue will remain steadfast in serving the people and giving glory to God.
At the end of the day, kagaya ng ating lagi pong sinasabi, ay mga walang kabuluhan lang naman tayo po ng mga instrumento at ang karangalan ay mananatiling sa Panginoon.
Now, here's a glimpse of what's the weather like in parts of the country. A low-pressure area, or LPA, will affect parts of the country. State Weather Bureau Pagasa says as of 3 p.m. today, the LPA was located 150 kilometers east of Casiguran, Aurora. The LPA and the southwest monsoon, or the Hanging Habagat, will bring cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms over Metro Manila, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Mimaropa, Calabarzon, Bicol region, and western Visayas. Meanwhile, the rest of the country will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms due to localized thunderstorms. Possible flash floods or landslides may occur during severe thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone advisory is issued.
San Miguel Corporation agrees to place hazard mitigating measures in the final design of the Bulacan Airport project. Vincent Arboleda reports why.
Just to be very specific on the facts is that it is far away from the fault, but since it's underlain by sand with a shallow water table, it's prone to strong ground shaking and liquefaction.
This was the assessment presented by DOST Undersecretary Renato Soledum Jr. during the Senate hearing on the 740 billion peso airport project in Bulacan. USEC Soledum says the assessment was made to ensure that the investors and the community can prepare for any hazard in the area and prevent loss of life and damage to property.
Hindi nangangahulugang bawal magtayo. Kailangan lang i-disenyo ng mabuti upang hindi siya maapektuhan later on.
Soledum says there are many ways to mitigate the effects of an earthquake or a flood.
Dapat yung building mo ay maayos ang disenyo na maging stable siya habang lumilindol at hindi siya tumagilid. No? Or pwede mo ring patibayin ng lupa. No? Bawasan mo yung tubig. Palitan mo yung lupa. No? So maraming paraan.
San Miguel Corporation, the company in charge of constructing the 740 billion peso domestic and international airport in Bulacan, says it agrees with the statement of Phivolcs. According to Ramon Ang of San Miguel Corporation, they are now implementing measures to deal with the problem on flooding. Ang also said that the SMC has staffed the help of 3 global airport construction firms that took part in building the Changi Airport in Singapore and other large airports in France and United States. The SMC assures it has also made feasibility studies and will include the measures presented by the Phivolcs and incorporate those in final design to mitigate the impacts of any calamity. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio announced this afternoon that on September 21, there were 40 passengers of a plane who came from Manila bound for Davao, who tested positive for COVID-19. The test results came after mandatory swab testing of plane passengers arriving in the city. Meanwhile, Mayor Sara announced that Davao City will start implementing a QR code system for all arriving passengers in Davao International Airport. A test run will be conducted on October 7 to 11, 2020. And starting October 12, it will be mandatory upon the exit of passengers from the airport. The purpose of the newly developed online passenger data recording is to protect the frontliners from the risk of interviewing passengers who might be positive for COVID-19. Let's now take a closer look at the updated count of coronavirus cases in countries worst hit by the pandemic. The total case count of the United States of America nears 7 million as of today, while having the highest death toll from COVID-19, now at more than 202,000. Now looking at Russia's situation, the transcontinental country has kept its death toll below 20,000 since the pandemic began, but it nears that mark.
Meanwhile, Russia does not plan to impose severe lockdown restrictions despite a growing number of COVID-19 cases, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said today. Russia's single-day record of COVID-19 cases hit its highest level since June 23 today, with 7,212 infections reported across the country. With over 1.1 million cases, Russia currently has the fourth highest number of infections in the world. Peskov said the increase in these figures is a reason to be much more careful.
Australia's Therapeutic Goods Administration has approved the rollout of 4 rapid antigen COVID-19 tests with diagnosis in just 15 minutes. Joining us tonight is one of our fellow correspondents here in Perth, Australia, Marvy Delphine, to tell us why live. Yes, Marvy.
Riel, rapid antigen tests that can diagnose the novel coronavirus within 15 minutes could offer hope of a COVID normal future for millions of Aussies, especially Victorians currently in lockdown. Australia's drugs regulator, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, or TGA, has approved the rollout of rapid antigen COVID-19 tests from 4 medical companies in the US and South Korea, which will be imported by Australian pathology and pharmaceutical companies. 2 of the 4 TGA-approved rapid antigen COVID-19 tests are BioNote Incorporated's NowCheck from South Korea, to be distributed by Victoria-based Life Bioscience, and Access Bio from the US, to be distributed by Victoria's Pentonic Health. Among the first to use these rapid antigen COVID-19 tests are government health departments, accredited laboratories, medical practitioners, and healthcare workers. This will be especially helpful in aged care, hospitals, and food settings where waiting up to 24 hours for the results of the gold standard PCR testing or nasal and throat swabs can be problematic. Australian Medical Association Western Australia President Dr. Andrew Miller, along with other experts, have pushed faster COVID-19 testing and other technology to help create smart borders in Australia, which will see the opening up of interstate and international travel. Meanwhile, Australia is not alone in preparing to ease pandemic restrictions and rebuilding the economy through upgrading health measures. Over in Hawaii, the United Airlines will begin offering on-the-spot coronavirus testing to some passengers at the airport before they board their flight, with results provided in just 15 minutes as well. The rapid test, developed by U.S. Abbott Laboratories, will be offered to United customers going to Hawaii from San Francisco, beginning on October 15. The airline says it collaborated with the Hawaiian government to ensure the test meets state requirements. This means travelers who test negative for COVID-19 within 72 hours of their arrival will be exempt from Hawaii's mandatory 14-day quarantine. Marielle?
Marvi, that is definitely good news for Australians and Hawaiians, especially now that we are seeing near elimination of local COVID-19 cases here down under. Can you give us an update?
Marielle, the Department of Health here in Australia has recorded 17 new cases after 47,634 tests were processed in the last 24 hours. Government data show that out of the 26,811 confirmed cases, only 595 remain active, and death toll rises to 869. But 24,333 have recovered from the infection. A total of more than 7 million people here in Australia have been tested for the virus. Marielle?
Thank you, Marvi Delphine, for that report, live from Perth, Australia. Marvi reported that just over 500 active cases remain here down under. But despite that, the country has been hit. A huge challenge now is Australia's budget, according to its recent economic and fiscal update. To tell us why, here's Maeve Yandog from Queensland, Australia, live. Yes, Maeve.
Marielle, Treasurer Josh Frydenberg revealed this morning that Australia's final budget outcome for 2019 to 2020 recorded a deficit of $85.3 billion. This shortfall is attributed to the federal government's massive spending to support businesses and households who are facing the challenges caused by the pandemic. The government's economic support payments for Australians were reported to be $57.7 billion higher compared to the 2019 to 2020 mid-year economic and fiscal outlook estimate, along with a net debt of $491.2 billion. Despite these figures, Treasurer Frydenberg said that the outcome for the final budget is still slightly lower by $0.5 billion compared to the mid-year forecast from July this year. The federal government assures that compared to other nations like the United States, which faces $3 trillion budget deficit, Australia's budget is still in a much stronger position. Meanwhile, starting today, the government has reduced the rate of coronavirus supplement, and as Treasurer Frydenberg put it, the money is important for the job seeker recipients, but the government wants to help them get into a job. The government's revised fiscal strategy has also been outlined, which aims to provide a transition from Australia's emergency support provision to driving down the unemployment rate by growing the economy. Marielle?
Maeve, please tell us which sector is worst hit by unemployment here in Australia.
Marielle, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, in a report published today, there has been a decrease in the tourism industry jobs in June, which is the largest on record. That's actually caused by bushfires and the coronavirus pandemic. Tourism jobs fell 18.2%, or an equivalent of 136,500 jobs, compared to 6.8%, or 992,300 jobs in the whole economy. In particular, the tourism industries with the largest changes in the number of jobs from June quarter 2019 to June quarter 2020 are cafes, restaurants, and takeaway food services with a decrease of 34,200 jobs, accommodation in which 24,000 workers lost their jobs, and sports and recreation services with 11,500 jobs gone. Marielle?
All right, thank you, Mavian Dog, for that report, live from Queensland, Australia.
A new research shows nitrogen dioxide have, but sulfur dioxide doubled in the first 100 days of lockdown in the United Kingdom. Our UK correspondent Jovic Bermas will tell us why.
While the nitrogen dioxide or NO2 levels declined sharply in the first 100 days of lockdown in the United Kingdom, sulfur dioxide or SO2 levels, another air pollutant, surprisingly increased twofold. This according to the researchers from the University of Liverpool's School of Environmental Sciences, who analyzed the data from the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs air quality sensors and UK Met Office stations and compared them from the past 7 years. The researchers explored localized effects of lockdown on air quality on 7 large UK cities: London, Glasgow, Belfast, Birmingham, Manchester, Newcastle, and Liverpool. The NO2 levels declined on average between 37% to 41% in all of the cities, except for the city of Glasgow, which saw 44%. However, increase in sulfur dioxide levels, typically created by UK industry, was found to be greater in northern cities. Aside from higher temperature and less humidity during the first 100 days of lockdown, experts attributed the dramatic fall of NO2 levels, which reached a low of 23% on April 13th, to the significant reduction of motor vehicle emissions when UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson told the country that people must stay at home and certain businesses must close from March 23rd. NO2 levels steadily increased back to 77% 100 days after the lockdown. Dr. Johnny Higham, a lecturer in contemporary and dynamic processes who also led the study, said that the reduction in motor vehicles and human activity had a substantial impact on air quality. Although it reduced one pollutant, there has been a big increase in another pollutant. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The three singing brothers Brads are preparing for a night full of music and fun. Mirasola Bogadil will tell us why.
Hi, I'm Sean. And I'm Chris. And I'm JC. And we are Brads!
As a way to say thank you to their fans for their relentless support, singing brothers Sean, JC, and Chris, collectively known as Brads, will hold a digital concert on September 27, Sunday at 7 in the evening through communication app Connect. This musical party is in celebration of their 8th anniversary in the music industry. OPM hitmakers Barbie Almalvis, The Itchy Worms, and Jason Fernandez are among the special guests who will perform alongside Brads.
Sobrang pinaganda namin, sobrang excited kami na makasama kayo, mapanood yon. Kung may mga bagong songs, doon na lang natin malalaman. Yes. Kung may mga pasabog, doon na rin natin malalaman. Kaya sana supportahan niyo po kami.
The brothers, who hail from Rizal Province, are thankful for the various opportunities to showcase their talents since their very first gig at a singing competition in a mall 8 years ago. From singing at small events, Brad's career took off after they signed a management deal with Breakthrough and Milestones Productions International or BMPI, and shortly after, a record deal with Warner Music Philippines. Their first single, entitled Pag-ibig, became a hit when they performed their own composition inside the renowned FM radio booth on wheels, the Wish Bus. The song was also used as a background music in the program Gandang Gabi Vice or GGV when K-pop group Momoland appeared in the show. From there, the group received a lot of invitations to perform.
Hindi na namin ma-mention lahat, pero yung pinaka markado doon, yung nakapag-wish exclusive kami, nakapag-bus tayo. At yung sa Araneta, nakapag-fronta kami sa isang event. Sa 8 years naman na pagkabanda po namin bilang magkakapatid, challenging. May mga gulo-gulo. At syempre, pag magkakapatid, may banding nakakaiba yan.
Brad said that their wish is to be able to continue sharing their music and hopefully to expand their audience. For other details and queries about the virtual concert and ticket sales, just send an email to events@bmpicorp.com or call the numbers on your TV screens. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, September 25, 2020. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. Sitting in for William Theo, I am Mariela Toza reporting live from Perth, Australia.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Mangalo Castro III. We serve the people, we give glory to God.